begin by paying my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and to their elders. I'd also like to acknowledge my own nations of the Eualeyai and Kamillaroi people and all of the Aboriginal nations who are represented here today, and all of you non-Aboriginal people who've thought it's important enough to come out today in this weather and support us in our struggle. The old people used to tell my father every time he went home that he brought the rain with him, so maybe this rain is actually the spirits of the old people coming to us today, and we should take comfort from it. Warren Mundine has said that Australia's not a racist country. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that something's wrong when the government wants to suspend the Racial Discrimination Act. It's a pretty good litmus test, and I think it's a telling story about Australia's history and where we are today, that the only time that Racial Discrimination Act and all its protections get repealed are to take away the rights of Aboriginal people. We saw it in relation to native title when Howard wanted to gut land rights and the spirit of the Mabo case. We saw it in the Hindmarsh Island Bridge case when developers wanted to gut Aboriginal land, and we've seen it in the Northern Territory intervention to take away people's rights. In 1938, just up the road here, Aboriginal people protested at the Day of Mourning demanding citizenship rights. In 1972, just a few kilometres away from here at the block, Aboriginal people organised to start to form the Tent Embassy. They also embraced the notion of human rights. And the things that we've achieved since then as Aboriginal people have come from the leadership of our parents, our grandparents and our ancestors. Anybody who says you can't eat rights or you can't eat the Constitution doesn't remember their history. And Aboriginal people who say that should be ashamed, because it's the human rights and our ancestors' advocacy for the rightness of our claims to our land, our heritage and our culture, our rights to provide for our family, that has been the backbone of our ability to not just survive the colonisation of Australia, but to ensure that our cultures are as vibrant today as they are, and that Aboriginal culture is as strong as it is today. Jenny Macklin should be able to find a way to make laws that protect women and children and are not racially discriminatory. That is not a hard ask. And if that is not the agenda, she should be honest about it. It seems to me that apart from the humiliation that people suffer when they are deprived of the basic right to be free from discrimination, there's also the indignity that has been placed on Aboriginal people in the Northern Territory and now around the country, where governments accuse us of being part of the problem and not part of the solution. The only way to improve the life chances of Aboriginal people is to have us centrally involved in the development of making the policies that affect our community, centrally involved in the service delivery within our community, centrally involved in the decisions about our own lives. This is what governments should move towards, not this top-down, we know what's best for you approach. And what really worries me as the daughter and granddaughter of members of the stolen generation is the way in which this language of what we're doing, what's in the best interest of the children, has been prevalent throughout this intervention. It reminds me of exactly the same rhetoric that was used to justify removing my grandmother from her family. That same neglect that governments had of our community and then turning around to Aboriginal people and saying you don't know how to look after your children. Kevin Rudd gave an apology. He said at that time, an apology without action is like a clanging gong. Well, I think we can all hear that gong clanging today. And I just wonder, what are the words he's going to use or a government's going to use in 20 years' time when they have to apologise to this generation of Aboriginal people for these policies? How are they going to make up for the legacy of what they're doing today? The only way forward for this government is to stop this intervention, to honestly reinstate the Racial Discrimination Act, to stop the land grab of Aboriginal land, to stop the pretending that this is about women and children when it's about getting access to Aboriginal land and trying to humiliate Aboriginal organisations and Aboriginal people. We have to stop this intervention, and until we do, I say shame on you, Jenny Macklin, and shame on you, Kevin Rudd.